What's up, guys? I was watching this debate the other day. I was watching Destiny and Medhi Hasan on Piers Morgan's show with Sarah Palin, and I forget the other guy's name. I agree with the other guy on some things, but not everything. But Sarah Palin, I do not know how she ended up on a panel with Destiny and Medhi Hasan. It's like she is so out of her depth that it's crazy. And the fact that she barely could talk on this panel because she don't know any facts. She just talking generals and generalizations, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, why embarrass yourself? Because these guys clearly know what they're talking about. But let's check it out. Let's jump into this clip.
Because that should calm down the debate. Destiny, look, obviously it's a pretty consequential election in many ways, but not least, I would argue, for the fate of people in Gaza and Ukraine and other hotspots around the world. Where are we with these? I mean, it's quite interesting to me that for the first time I can remember, you have a body of Republicans who do not want to back, say, Ukraine against a Russian dictator that illegally invaded their country. I remain,
which is crazy, and Republicans supposed to be the party of family values. They supposed to be the party of just, and they don't want you being somebody who invades another country. They frown upon that. Well, they used to. This is a new Republican Party.
Very perplexed and surprised that that is the view. And Sarah, we can come to you for why that may be. But that is the case. If Trump was to win, he says he'll fix it all in 24 hours. I don't think he will. But he will try and do a deal. The question is, what is that deal? Because Ukraine are saying they're not going to give up an inch of the land.
So the issue is that Donald Trump is a 4-year-old when it comes to understanding any issue, but especially foreign policy. And a lot of people have this, they're obsessed with this idea of peace in their mind, which
I agree with Destiny and some of these other guys who say that Donald Trump can't give a coherent, perspective on any of his policies. He can't break down stuff to make you think that he actually knows what he's talking about. Now, I have heard him talk about construction stuff, and I heard him sound like he knows a lot about the building of buildings and construction and stuff like that. But other than that, I can't say that he actually knows the intricate parts of policies and how they work.
If you're in conflict, peace is the furthest thing from your mind. You want some kind of just peace or justice, right? So Trump's solution for Ukraine is just give up the land that's been taken from you and everything will be kosher, just like Russia did in Moldova with Transnistria, just like Russia did with South Ossetia, and I can't even pronounce the other place, in Georgia, and just like Russia's trying to do now with Ukraine. If you're somebody that wants, justice for Ukraine, and you want the United States to remain a world leader when it comes to, ensuring trade routes or being somebody that the world looks to ensure relative peace and freedom and stability throughout places like Europe, which it has enjoyed historically more in the past 30 years than it had in the 200 years prior to that. Donald Trump obviously is not going to do that for you. If you're somebody who's very concerned about the Israeli-Gaza conflict, I mean, you've got Donald Trump who wholeheartedly, he said it before, will support Israel basically no matter what, with absolutely, no contention whatsoever. You've got a guy who agreed to moving the embassy, who before that was talking about pulling all of the UNRWA funding from the Gaza Strip, who would support Netanyahu through and through. The whole reason why those Abraham Accords started was because Netanyahu wanted to start annexing parts of the West Bank, right? Donald Trump is not going to help any of the Palestinians if that's something that you're concerned about. Insofar as peace in the Middle East, I mean, you've got this talking point over and over again, no new wars, no new wars. Yeah, again, we haven't had any new wars since World War II, right? The war in Iraq was the use of force authorization, the authorization of the use of force, but it wasn't technically a war.
Well, it was a war.
You can call it that, but Donald Trump bombed Syria. Donald Trump bombed Syria. That wasn't a war, apparently. With no congressional authorization. Iran attacked Saudi Arabia, they did a drone strike on oil refineries. There was conflict all throughout Iraq and Syria. Donald Trump abandoned Kurdish allies in Syria. Donald Trump signed a deal with the Taliban and essentially forfeited Afghanistan. And there was the whole fallout from that. Like, this idea that there was peace in the Middle East under Donald Trump is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Look, I actually think Trump's foreign policy was a lot more effective than people give him credit for.
He did nothing. What was effective about it?
Well, there's not. Look, I mean, it's not. There's some some truth in there mixed with some just like attempts to get Donald Trump. Look, when people say there were no new wars under Donald Trump, there is, first of all, I'll say at least that's the talking point. At least that's what they're going with, rather than going, he killed all them terrorists or something like that, which would have, 20 years ago, would have been the talking point from people on the right wing. So that's at least better. But the reason why they wouldn't consider him bombing Syria a new war is because Obama had us already in that conflict since 2012.
When he reneged on his red line.
Yes. Now, listen. By the way, there are
Assad
things...
used chemical weapons, and Obama did nothing, and Putin came in and took control. Well, that's what happened.
Okay.
Yes,
anyway, yes.
That is what happened.
Well, actually, if you want to really look at what happened in 2012, because the...
But Piers Morgan is unbiased, right? He's not a Republican, but he always finds some way to crap on Democrats and everything they do. He never points out nothing the Republicans do, but he always points out every little thing about the Democrats. It's so funny.
The war, and I know you know about this stuff, because the war in Iraq had been such a disaster and the power had been handed back to the Shiites in the region, and Iran had more influence than they had had in the history of the regime, then it really started under George W. Bush, but then continued into Obama. They did what they called the redirect, where now we were going to try to take the Shiites down a peg, who we had just put in power in Iraq. And so what we wanted to do was overthrow Bashar al-Assad, and so we started funding all of the anti-Assad rebels, which largely consisted of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and they knew this. Anyway, it wasn't like during Obama inherited these two wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and said he was going to end at least the one in Iraq. He then spread wars to Libya, Syria, Yemen. Somalia had already been going since George W. Bush was in there. You didn't see that under Donald Trump. You didn't see. However, he did.
Disagree.
Well,
He escalated all
Yes, if you let me finish the sentence, then sure, we'd get there. However, he did escalate the war in Afghanistan, which he said himself was unwinnable, and so he escalated the war in Afghanistan, not like Obama with 70,000 plus troops there, but he did send thousands extra troops. He did take off the gloves with drone strikes and rules of engagement. So the idea that he was like an anti-war president is not true. There was, rhetorically, he was very different than previous presidents, and he would at least talk about the idea that these wars were disasters, that we never should have fought them, and that really America shouldn't be involved in that business.
Also, I do think,
I'm glad that he's at least infusing that into the
Sarah,
popular
I do think
conversation.
he came at it with an overview as a business guy. It's just bad business. These wars were costing trillions of dollars cumulatively to get nowhere, really. What's your assessment of Trump on the foreign stage?
And there's huge conflicts of interest also with the.
Do they get in these wars to win them, or do they get into the wars to make money and to just kill as many of the enemy as possible? That's the question.
This war machine that our country has seemed to have embraced and allowed to perpetuate. I'm voting for Trump because I hate war. And I don't know if any of you, I hate that it's the old men who call for wars and they send our young men to go fight those wars for them, our young men and our young women. And, all politics are personal. I don't know if any of you have a real personal connection with those who have been sent to war zones. And then the guys, the gals, they come back different people. They're adversely affected.
Now, I definitely agree with Sarah Palin on this one. I mean, you send in your troops, where you create these conflicts, and then you send all these young men over there, and a lot of them do come back different.
On a personal level here, I will do whatever I can, and I will support whatever candidate needs support in order to avoid war. Why I will not support Kamala is she doesn't understand, for one, that inherent link between energy development, energy independence in America, and that inherent link between that and our safety and our sovereignty. And because Kamala and because the Democrat Party has put an end to so much of our exploration, certainly so much of our development of our own natural resources.
Isn't America producing more energy today than we have in all of history?
No, we're not.
That's not true? We're not?
No, we're not. And
okay.
Remember, Kamala and her administration, day one, they stopped pipelines, no more drilling on federal lands.
So we look up, America's not producing more energy. You ran with McCain. You said you care about veterans and everything. Did Trump's comments about McCain bother you at all? Did Trump prefers people that didn't get captured?
I've never said anything negative about McCain or any.
I didn't ask if you said it. I asked if Trump's comments bother you about that.
Anyway,
when Trump made fun of that Gold Star family for their child, did that bother you?
And this the problem. I don't. This is why Republicans make me mad when he's talking about Trump. A lot of them cannot just say, I hate that Trump said that, or I hate that Trump did that. I'm still going to support him, but I hate that he did that. Why is that so hard? Like, they are so scared to just criticize anything about Trump. It's just so crazy to me.
The
They bother
inherent
me.
link
I
between
wrote a column
energy.
criticizing him
Because she
heavily
just said
for
she
it.
cares about vets. I had two parents who served in the Air Force. I'm just curious, if you cared about vets, did these comments bother you?
If
when
I
Trump
care
tried to go to
about
Arlington
vets,
and do a photo
if
op
I
there.
care about vets,
Yeah, if you
really,
do these comments
really,
bother you?
If I care about
Yes,
vets.
if you cared about vets,
so
I'm asking, do these comments
the
bother
inherent
you?
link between energy and prosperity.
She just disregarded the whole question. Like, it's just so crazy to me that she's scared to just say Trump shouldn't have said that, and I didn't like that.
And
It's going
energy
to talk
security.
about whether or not Trump's comments about Mickey
You
bother you?
interrupted the point that I was going to make.
Because
You
you're not making
changed
any
the
points. These are
subject,
political
dude.
talking points. Are we running for office in here?
Really, really.
You did run for office, by the way. You ran with John
Oh
McCain,
my
the most
gosh.
warmongering man that we know of. Why
I
did you
did
run
think
with
that
John
was the
McCain?
point to make. Not
Why
what
did you
just
run-
was
I
said.
could
Why did you run with John
That was the point to
McCain
point out.
if you're
To
anti-wars?
make a positive difference in our
But he would have
country.
sent more people to die.
You don't know that.
I do. He
You don't
literally
know.
said, "Bomb, bomb, bomb
Oh,
Iran."
you're-
He sang it.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
he
sang it.
You're
He did
prophetic.
campaign.
He campaigned on a war
campaigned
platform.
on 100 years in Iraq.
He campaigned on staying in
You're
Iraq 100
asking why-
years
I like
and
what you were
bombing Iran.
saying.
You're
by the way.
asking why I accepted the nomination to
I'm just
run
wondering,
for
you're
vice
sitting
president
here
of the
saying
United States of
you're
America?
against war abroad, and yet I just want to remind younger viewers at home, you ran with the most warmongering senator of my lifetime.
And you're asking why I ran for vice president of the United States
No,
of
no, I
America?
know why you ran. You wanted power. I'm just saying why you're not consistent.
you-
But
I mean,
maybe
to be,
that's
to
a
be fair to
pointless
Palin,
question.
Vance accepted the
asked-
nomination, and he said that Trump could be America's next Hitler. So, I mean, you know.
Maybe.
All right, why don't we try and be a little fairer to the ex-governor, because she's on her
It
own
was a
here getting
question.
attacked
It was
by
a question.
He said, be fair to her. Because they asked her a tough question. Be fair to her. Like, come on, Piers.
brutal
And I
males.
wanted
Well,
to
I
talk
think-
about energy and America's
Yeah, finish your
need
point on
What you said was
for
false about energy. Facts matter too.
and
America has record energy production
independence.
right now.
No.
It does.
What's
People
false?
can Google it right now
When
and see
I
that you're not
said that
telling the
on
truth.
day one, what the Biden administration did was halt so much of our exploration
we have record energy
and our
production.
construction of pipelines. And
I'm not a fan of that, by the way. I think we should have less
denied-
energy production.
You
I'm a
lied.
critic of
You're
Biden
a
on his
liar.
energy production.
You're a liar. You lied.
I'm
and
a
you,
liar.
Yes, and you said no, Biden didn't do that. Yes, he did on day one.
Do you know he handed out more
They
licenses to
they
Trump? Do you know that?
I'm making the point that you denied. My point is true.
Destiny said energy's higher, and you said no. So if anyone lied, you did.
Listen.
People
All
can
right.
DVR it. They can rewind it and
All
see
right.
you saying a false
me ask-
statement.
let me
to
ask this
Desperate.
question.
you don't
That energy
think that-
production higher. Is
you don't
energy
think
production
that
higher
Biden-
today?
You don't think that Biden
Is energy
thwarted
production
our
higher under Biden than
exploration?
Trump?
And you just
Is
lied
energy production
and
higher,
said
Sarah Palin?
that
It's a very simple
Biden
question.
didn't
I know
do it.
facts are not your strong point. Is energy production higher today under Biden than under Trump? It's a simple yes or no
You're
question.
an obnoxious.
See, but then the issue
Facts
that's what
hurt,
about
don't you?
really
Facts
is
don't
really
care about
because
your
you say,
feelings.
are Americans wrong when they have this feeling?
Now, she called him obnoxious just because he's trying to pin her down on a point she made. She called him a liar, but she just said that what Destiny said was a lie, which was not true. And they keep saying that it was more energy produced under Biden than Trump, and she's just disregarding facts, like, and that's what's so crazy.
Well, the feelings
I'm
oftentimes are
obnoxious
generated
because I
from
asked you if energy production's higher today than under Trump.
You're
That makes me
obnoxious
obnoxious.
because I'm asking you why you would say that
I mean,
Biden
I'm obnoxious.
didn't thwart.
You're a
he
racist.
didn't
We want to play
thwart-
that game?
Oh.
You said Obama is not born in America. He's
I
not one of
did?
us.
I
He's
said that?
Yeah, you said Trump is doing a great job asking for his birth certificate.
I
You
said
he's
that?
You said he's not one of us. You said he jives and schmucks. Should we go down the record? You're going to call me obnoxious? Why don't you talk about your racism?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about your racism?
Why do you change the
You said
subject
you said
instead of
Black
just
Lives Matter
answering the
protesters are dogs.
question?
Should we go down? Should
I
we go
said
down?
they're
All right,
dogs.
all right,
You're
hang
a
on.
liar.
All right,
Show me
let's-
where I ever said that protesters
It's funny you didn't
are
deny the
dogs.
Obama. You say Obama's shocking judge.
You're
all
a
right.
liar.
Mehdi, if you get the governor on your show, which is, I would say, unlikely as things stand, if you
do
do,
it
you
often.
can continue the prosecution. Let me just segue to this, though, because it's
I
interesting.
called people
She is hot right now.
dogs who were protesting in
believe it.
America. You're a liar.
Since our president won't say it, since he still hasn't called off the dogs, we'll say it.
Did you question Obama's birth?
Oh my goodness!
Did you
are
say
a
he's
liar.
not one of us?
You know, based
Did you say he's
on
palling around
that-
with terrorists?
Based on that, we're talking about Bill Ayers at the time and how
So you stand by
Obama
that?
had kicked off.
You're standing
his,
by Obama's
his,
with terrorists?
entire. Oh my goodness! I can't believe
Did you
even
say
have
he's
a
not one of
show
us?
If you
Did you say Obama's not one of us?
I still want to know this proof that you have of me calling protesters in America dogs.
I believe you refer to Black Lives Matter protesters. Is that
I
right? If
believe
I'm wrong,
you
I'll
are
happily
wrong.
withdraw
All
that
right,
comment.
we'll fact check after this. I want to ask you this, Medhi,
She
because
don't
you've
even
been
really-
very
she
vocal
just-
and taking on.
See, that's the crazy part. These people just say stuff. Like when these Republicans, I'm not talking about the voters, I'm talking about these Republican politicians. They just say stuff. It don't have to be true. I mean, they're not being held accountable for nothing they say. That's why they push this freedom of speech. They want to be able to just lie to their voters. And then now their voters out here repeating what they lied to them about. And it's like, it's just crazy to me.
Sorry, Palin.
I mean, I got called obnoxious for pointing out energy production levels.
I
so
don't
yes.
think you would win a court case about
No,
not being
you're
obnoxious. But let's
because
move
you
on.
lied
Let's move on.
about Biden not thwarting our
I can also be
exploration and
obnoxious before you
development.
just play the what a battery. Let me just ask you this: though. Given that you believe Trump is, a racist who's holding neo-Nazi style rallies and so on, why is it that he's gaining significant ground with black and Latino voters? Why would they gravitate to a man who is literally, in your eyes, the new version of a Nazi?
It's a good question. I think because minority communities are not monoliths. I'm having the same issues in my own Muslim community where a lot of Muslims, not a lot, but some Muslims are actually going to vote for Trump because they're upset about Gaza. They think he's the peace candidate. And I think people have different reasons. I think we can make generalizations about entire communities. I'm not going to make generalizations about
it is
black
incredible.
or
You have the
Latino
you
voters.
have a-
Although I think it's slightly exaggerated. There's an ABC poll that came out on
But
Sunday.
you have a woman.
There's
black-
an ABC poll that came out on Sunday that shows Harris is doing better with black and Latino men than Joe Biden did in
Yes,
2020.
but the significant thing, Dave, is that his Trump's own popularity with black and Latino voters is significantly increased.
What is that popularity?
Yeah.
What are the numbers that we talking here? Are we going from like 11% to 17%?
I think
Or
I
what is
read
the-
on about African Americans, it's something like from about 4 or 5% to nearly 20%. That's significant.
It depends on what polls you look at, and
Yeah.
again, like we'll figure out in well, I guess it might take us a few weeks before we have
Yeah.
this data, but we'll see what actually ends up happening on the election day. There is something very interesting about the fact that if you look at the aggregate of the polls, Trump's support amongst minorities seems to be going up. There is, at least on the surface, that seems kind of funny given how he's being covered in the corporate media. I really do think that a lot of the there's kind of like the progressive cultural worldview is often very disconnected from what people in these communities actually care about. I think the fact that I think personally there's actually a lot of things that appeal to certain people in these communities that Donald Trump, just in his personality. But I really do think that if you ask them, it all is coming down to the same two things that it's coming down to for most voters, which is immigration and the economy.
Yeah.
These are the two big issues
Destiny,
across all the polls.
it is, I mean, whatever
That's
side of
it.
this you're on with Trump, it is fascinating that somebody who, many on your side believe is this appalling racist and everything else, that he is increasing support in minority groups. Why
I'm not
is
certain talking because black people and Hispanic people and Asian people and white, we're not fundamentally different. You can appeal to people using certain talking points. I hate that I'm saying this, but like Dave said, I agree that that talking about immigration and inflation, that's a thing that plays to a lot of communities, especially if you're a poor community, especially if you don't have as much money. These are things that are probably hitting you the hardest. Now, the issue where the rubber meets the road is that while Trump will talk about inflation, while Trump was running for president, he ran huge deficits in a great economy. There's no reason for it. At least Biden has an excuse to run deficits. We're coming out of a global pandemic. And every single policy that Donald Trump is talking about will increase inflation. It's going to. Who do you think? Do you think that I'm going to care if my coffee costs $10 or $15 because of tariffs? It's not going to bother me. It's not going to bother anybody sitting here. It's going to bother the very same communities that are trying to vote for him because they're worried about things like inflation. And the policies themselves don't even make sense, right? What do you think is going to happen when we deport 12 million workers, or when we deport however many people Donald Trump wants to, or when we cut immigration even harder
You know
at the
who the
border,
biggest
right? Donald
deporter-
Trump will simultaneously say
Destiny?
we're shipping all of our.
He is finna say that Obama was the biggest deporter in history. Piers Morgan is crazy, man. I know he's finna say it.
factories
Allow
to
me
Mexico
to-
because
allow-
they're making cars
fine,
down there,
allow-
but we want to ban all the people from
fine.
coming to the United States to make the cars. It doesn't make any sense.
Allow me to remind you of my favourite statistic, which is
I don't care about Obama. Obama is not running for president,
just-
so I don't know why. I
you're
don't care.
ahead of me, but let me do it
I know,
anyway.
I've heard it. The deporter
It's
in
my
chief.
favourite
It
stat.
doesn't matter. All it proves is that Trump is a liar when you say he ran on immigration
the-
because Obama was already deporting a ton of
single
people.
greatest deporter of people in American presidential history, pro rata.
And this the guy that's not, he's not a Republican. He's not a Trump supporter. But his favorite talking point is Obama was the deporter in chief. Like, come on, man. Come on.
Per year was Barack Obama.
So then would you say that Trump was lying when he said that the Democrats were bad on immigration?
Over 3 million in 8 years.
Yeah, so would you say that Trump was lying when he said that Obama was bad on immigration?
No, I'm simply saying there's so much...
I'm curious. Would you say that Donald Trump and the Republicans lied when they said that Obama had an open border?
There is so much...
Palin has probably said that Obama had an open border. Did they lie when they said that?
Let's call her Mrs. Palin. Be respectful.
Mrs. Palin.
Mrs. Palin.
Destiny's still going at Piers Morgan. I really don't know what to say, but he has a show. He's making a ton of money. He's going to the top fast. And why would he stop doing what he's doing? I'm not on either side. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Trump supporter. But everything that comes out his mouth is in favor of Trump and the Republicans.